would be fine.
September, or maybe,
By the end of September, yeah.
So when,
or what about we have one meeting in August. That would give us plenty of time to
so
look
we
over budgets.
usually receive the budget book compiled
When do you
at
get the
the
budgets
end of
from?
October.
October
then-
31st.
When do you get the budgets from the department heads?
All right, so the department heads will turn in their budget, well, they're supposed to turn their budgets in on October 5th, but normally 3 to 4 do, and they rush in to see who will be first. And then they're complimented extensively, all
So
of
if
them.
we push
So they'd
that
have to
in the
be-
first
No, no.
week of September,
Yeah, so that had theirs pushed up a month.
Then I have to follow some around to get their budgets, and then some I help them with their budgets.
so if we have a submission time of the first week of September, and then if there is follow-up work that needs to be
There
done
will
for
be.
some, I was being optimistic when I said if. So the first week of September is actually like the first full week is the 1st to the 7th. So if you had it as the 4th of September instead of the 4th of October, that would give the whole month of September to get everything put together. And if we had it at the end of September on the 30th, that's 3 full weeks in between budget submissions and the budget book being given to the council. Then that gives us a little more
But
time.
I still would like to see the department budgets before it gets put into the book.
Well, that was my next question, is that if we have them required to submit them by the 4th, we're slated to have a meeting on the 12th,
Mhm.
we could review them all before they're put into the budget book. And then if there's items that we have questions about, then we can follow up with that before the book is put together 2 weeks later. Almost 3 weeks
Well, we
later.
got two meetings in September before the end of September,
Right.
so, from the finance committee itself,
Right.
so.
So that would give us 2 weeks, and then that would give us 2 meetings to review everything that's submitted on the 4th on time. We could look at those, and then if there's follow-up ones that we're still waiting for, we could look at those on the 26th. And then if we had a goal of getting the budget book to the council by the 2nd week of October, that would be like by the 10th-ish, then that would still give 3 weeks to review it if we started the review the first meeting of November like we usually do. Does that feel more comfortable?
Well, it feels more comfortable, I'm still worried about the crush at the end,
I am
you
too.
know.
Is there a crush at the end of
If I were
reviewing
ultimate
it?
at crush at the end.
Especially after what happened last year. And I
That was
definitely do not
irregular.
want that to
Yeah,
happen
totally
again.
irregular.
That was
I
irregular.
really don't think that's ever going to happen again. I think
I don't think
everyone's
any-
Well, if
traumatized.
it does,
from
I'm gonna
that.
have to hurt somebody because that was
1:30 in the morning, we're
ridiculous.
late.
Which is why I would like us to have the department budgets before or at least get a copy of all the department budgets when Catherine gets them.
Okay,
And I think that we should move the timeline back a little.
so that's what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Is that if the budget submissions, does this sound okay, Catherine?
All right, let's see.
Doable?
9-4 would be when the department heads and supervisors and Catherine will submit all their budgets to myself. And then 9-12 is a finance committee meeting to look at these. All right, we talked about 9/30 and we talked about the second week in October of getting the budget to the town council.
So the 12th we can review, but if there's some that don't come in
Mhm.
time and
There
you have to
probably
chase
will
them
be.
Still got
down,
the 26th.
we have the 26th
Okay.
for follow-up.
All right, yes. Which is your
follow-up
second
on
meeting.
9/26. And then if we preview the budgets through the finance committee, before you assemble the full budget book, how long does it take to actually put everything into, like physically put everything into the budget book?
I'll be assembling the budget book anyway.
As we go.
Because I have to, or it
Yeah.
won't get done. And I've always done it that way. I would just leave parts of it out. We just put the books all together and pile them in a corner. Because there's no way to use the copier with, all the use and just
Right.
start working on the books, unless you do it at night, which I'm trying to avoid to do. So we would assemble these as we go along. For example, you all would look at the expenses, I would be working on the revenues at the same time and finish the revenue budget to the details that I can. Because I have to still know what the bottom line of the municipal budget is in the letter of explanation in different forms. But there are a number of things that can be put together. So are we thinking that the full book will be ready by the end of September or the second week in October?
Well,
I'd
that
like
was
it
my
the end of
question.
September.
If it's the end of September and you're meeting on 9/26 and we've got some changes, that likely won't work.
What about the first week of October, like the 7th? We have a full council meeting, we have a council meeting on the 1st.
Yeah.
What if we got our budget books later that week, like the 4th?
Well,
That would be a
you
full
can get
week.
them in the interim.
We could get them
Because we have to
between-
deliver them anyway, they're so large.
Right,
So the 4th,
so if we said that the budget books would be due, well, the budget book would be completed by October 4th.
and disseminated on,
We could, the counselors could pick them up the
At
week
the
of the
meeting,
7th.
well, no, that's defeating the purpose of
if
moving
we
it back
want
if we
to-
wait for a council meeting.
Yeah, I always have delivered them until now, but I should be able to drive by then.
Well, if you can't, we'll find someone who can.
I shall.
So by 10/4, if the budget books are completed, the counselors will get them at some point, in some way. And then if we want to move up so that we have a little more room at the end, then instead of, is it the first week of November, we usually start our council workshops and reviewing. So if we moved that up to the
15th
15th,
of October.
we also have an extra week in there, the 29th. I think I'm going to be away that week. But we could move that up to the 15th if we want to start like one council meeting earlier, as far as having the first workshop where we start looking at individual budgets with the full council.
Now,
So you want to see the whole raw budgets that the department heads propose?
yes,
Okay. Sometimes these aren't in very good order.
that's okay.
Okay, just so you know.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
understanding.
Some, we've got the variation here.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Not a problem.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll be able to figure them out.
You will, it just takes a while to, like, when you check the,
And the only reason I'm saying that is because I don't think it's ever been done, and I think this committee should take that responsibility and look at that,
Mhm.
at those budgets.
that's fine. There's been a couple.
Before there's a compilation, and during that compilation, you make cuts.
Some years, yes.
Yes, so I would like to know what the budget is before any cuts are made.
There is a way to do that in the TRIO system in which we can enter, just as an idea, you can enter what the original budget is that came from the department, then you can enter in the manager recommendation, then you can, there's a place for, I think, another line, and then what the town council approves.
But that's just the money. I want to
Yes.
see what it is they're asking
Okay,
for.
all right, so it would
So
actually be.
I need the budget.
Okay, that's fine. So actually it would be easier if we don't enter all those lines and just
Correct.
go to,
Yeah.
yes, okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Howie, you had concerns about receiving the full budget and not being able to have time to digest it before the council starts doing the workshops and stuff. So I'm just looking at the calendar again. If the budget books are completed on the 4th, which is the first week of October, we've had a meeting on the 1st, we then have a meeting on the 15th. If the counselors don't get the books until the week of the 7th at some point, that still only leaves about a week to look them over. So what if we had a special meeting on the 29th in order to start going through budgets?
The 29th of,
October, because there's an extra week in there, because of the way the calendar falls in October, our first meeting in October is on the 1st of October.
okay, so, and I've been away from this process, but the last time I was involved with it, having the budget meeting after a council meeting turned out to be ridiculous in my opinion. It's a lot of time. We have a meeting that goes 2
So
hours
we'd rather have
and
the
then-
workshops separate.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that gives us
So just have a
more room,
workshop on the
just have
29th,
workshops.
on the weeks in between the regular meetings.
Yeah,
So the
that,
workshop,
I know that means a lot more meetings, but it's also having a workshop outside of the council meeting, I think
It'd
is
be a
more
more-
relaxed.
It would be a more thorough process.
Yes, I think so.
I think that we could do it in fewer meetings too, because by tacking it on at the end of the meeting, we only do like 3 budgets.
Right.
3 budgets,
We
3
might
budgets.
be able with 2 workshops
them
to do
and
half and
them.
half. I mean, if it doesn't look like that, still, we could divide it into thirds and still be quicker than doing it the other way.
And we'd be fresher,
Correct.
So-
I,
with less constraint from whatever occurred at the meeting itself.
Understand.
exactly. We would be coming in thinking about nothing but the budget.
Right.
Right, we don't have to worry about the council meeting beforehand.
Right.
So do we wanna, put that to the full council at the next meeting and say this is a suggestion, and get everybody to agree with?
I
Because it
think
would be
that-
committing to come to extra meetings.
Right.
That's my concern is that,
Yes.
I mean, I know if
But
I have things to schedule, I put things, if I have the opportunity to schedule things, I put them on weeks that I know I don't have a council meeting, so I schedule my life kind of around.
yes, that's what
those
I do
weeks,
too.
so,
But we now have committees that are all supposed to meet on a regular basis too, so.
Well, that's the other thing.
Finance committee and,
We have regular finance
Right, we got
committees in
ordinance
addition to the
committees
regular
and-
council meetings, and
now we'll
You know,
have
ordinance
budget,
and-
so I mean, it gets
Right.
crunched either way.
Yeah.
We get crunched at the end of the year.
Right.
I just think a workshop would be a lot less crunch.
I'm okay with that. I like the idea of being able to kind of really delve in and do, I think we could do half and half. If we had 2 budget workshops, I think we could get through half and half.
If we could
some
start,
of them
if
are
we
very
could start
quick.
early,
You know, the library is usually a very straightforward, a lot of the things
A
I'm
lot of
saying
them
year to
are.
year, there isn't a lot of,
Right.
you know, there's not a lot of spread in there versus some of the
I-
other departments like
Yeah,
highway and things like
police.
that, they have a lot
I
of,
foresee a lot of
things
issues
changing
with
then.
capital improvement.
yeah.
And the decisions we're gonna have to make that have not been made in the past, that have left us with no money, and the only way to do capital improvement is through loans. So we have to come up with a plan that puts money into everybody's capital budget.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that's gonna mean taxes are gonna go up. But if this had been done in the past, a little at a time, we wouldn't be at this point. So,
All right, so I've got notes on the different dates. I think I would feel more comfortable if the budget was to you all at the end of the 2nd week in October, only because I think once you, for the late budgets that come in, or the budgets I have to help people with,
So the
sometimes
11th?
that yes.
Okay.
And then I'll do it beforehand if I can.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
And if
That's
it's the
doable.
11th, you will have it the 11th
Right.
or sooner.
Yeah, and if that's the 11th, then that gives us 18 days to preview.
so there's
and
3
stuff
weeks
before-
between our meetings.
In October, from the 15th to the 5th of November, there's
3
2
weeks.
full weeks before our next meeting. We
These
skip
are,
a week.
these are the employees' favorite weeks. This is
I
when we
bet.
get
It's
work.
my favorite week. It's like, I don't have council tonight. It's a
It's a
Tuesday night at home.
bonus week.
Yeah, so that would give like over 2 weeks to look through the budget.
I was just gonna suggest that a couple of those meetings be set at the finance committee time and day.
The workshops?
Yeah,
If we can get
I
everybody's
think-
It would be a
People's-
council workshop though.
it would be a council workshop if we could get them on that, on our days, work on that.
So then you gotta get people that are working to be able to come in
Right,
at 4
that's the
o'clock in the
problem.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Or it might be able to be done at 5, instead of 6:30. We'll have to see how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
try to
mean,
move
if
them
it's a
up.
full council, I think we should try and keep it on a Tuesday, just to,
I agree.
And people are used to setting aside their Tuesdays,
Right.
Yeah.
even if they're not the regular ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we're looking at,
the 29th of October would be our first budget workshop. And then the 12th of November, let's see, so our council meeting gets moved to the 6th because of election day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the 12th of November would be workshop. And then if needed, would be the 26th of November? Because we'd have a council meeting on the 6th and then
Right.
the 19th.
So is that right by Thanksgiving?
yeah, so
That's
these
the week-
fall
that's the
in between the
Tuesday.
council meetings.
The 26th is the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week.
Right.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'd be looking at December.
Mhm.
When do we, let's see, so we have to set the budget. We have to finish it in November in order to set it to public hearing on the 3rd, or is the 17th
What
the
we've done
public
to
hearing?
deal with all the different administrative and then especially the charter, is that if we've used the original budget, or if we do have the actual decisions made, we can use that budget to set. And so that has to be set so that we've got a 30-day period there to get it into the newspapers in the proper time.
Okay.
So regardless of how far we've gotten through the budget, we just set it.
And then we just make adjustments and
Make
have those
adjustments,
available at the
yes.
meeting. I think we did that last
You
time.
did last time?
So we still
Yeah.
make it, set it the public hearing and voting on the 17th of December?
I think we should, yes, because if something goes wrong, you've got.
Well, it's not
time
gonna
limit
be,
period.
it's not gonna be all
They should.
wine and roses, I'll tell you that right now.
There is no,
So I just wanted to make sure I understand the dates. We talked about the 15th of October, but have we thrown that out? Is
Nope.
that-
no, okay,
What-
here's your dates. The budget items are gonna be completed to Catherine by the 4th of October. The budget book itself is gonna be completed October 11th, and the council will receive it at some point that day.
Yes.
And then we have a council meeting on the 15th, but we're not gonna deal with budget that day. The 29th,
Is a workshop.
Is the
we could do
workshop.
workshop the 29th or the 22nd, cause they're both off weeks. I'm pretty sure I'm
Right.
not gonna be here the 29th, we're gonna try and go
I may
visit
not be
Erin
here
in
the
Colorado.
29th either.
I guess we go with the 22nd.
Do we wanna shoot, that's 11 days, you comfortable with 11 days?
I'm comfortable with 11 days because
All right.
it's unlikely I'll be
So
here on the
10.
29th.
22 then. So 10/22 would be the first budget workshop.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then 11, we'd skip a week, and actually it'd be 1, 2, would be 3 weeks later,
November
would
12th.
be
12th.
November 12th.
All right.
Unless we wanted to do some after the meeting on the 6th.
So depending on how things go, we can stick in an additional workshop if needed between October 22nd and 11/12 on the schedule, if
Yes.
needed.
If needed. We
Because
could,
we'll know in the beginning if,
Because
how
if
things
we're having a workshop, say a 3-hour workshop, and all we're talking about is budget, I
Well,
don't
the
see why
other-
we can't get it done
Right.
in 2 meetings.
the other thing too is our council meetings tend to be pretty short when you get to October, November, December, because we're not like approving contracts, and we're not, we're not doing like,
Right, we're
paving
coming to
and
the
things
close,
like that, 'cause
we're trying to
everything's
close
been
the
done.
year.
so the November meeting's usually a pretty short one.
So that has happened basically because I was the one putting together the budget and the one doing most of the agenda items. So
Right.
that's sort of the trend that we got into, which
Yeah.
works fine for the town.
Yeah, but I mean, if we don't have as much on the agenda, then would you feel comfortable doing some of the workshop at the November 6th meeting rather than waiting to the 12th? I mean, do you
If we
foresee
pick the
anything
ones
major coming
that,
up
if we
you-
pick the ones that are usually easy, like you said, the library.
Put the
I'm-
more
I'm-
straightforward budgets in on that day.
Yeah,
Because we can pick and choose which ones we're covering,
Well,
right?
we have a variety of them that I put together and other staff members put together that don't have personnel in them.
Mhm.
Municipal building.
Right.
You know, different ones like
yeah,
buildings
those are the
and
ones
grounds.
those are the ones that we can work on.
Well, like the airport one is usually like the plowing, the electricity,
Right.
the lights.
Yes.
It's,
Yeah.
There's not much in that one.
Yeah, that
So
one's
those
gonna
types
need some
of
help
budgets,
this year.
right? And I apologize, but I
No,
need to
no, it's
leave.
okay.
My ride is
Thank
here.
you for working on the schedule there, that was
Um,
very helpful.
But yeah,
So
but
what-
I mean, I like the idea of starting ahead of time and having more concise.
Now that there's more, I would say more stress on the taxpayer dollar, the costs are going up, there's less revenues, we have to start early. It used to work out fine.
Right.
Years ago, but the last few years have
Yeah.
been difficult.
And I mean, I think everyone should be prepared to make some hard choices. We could be looking at losing some services in order to put money in the capital improvement plans, which we desperately need to do, or to somehow charge for those services. I'm not sure exactly. Well, with the transfer station, you could pay as you throw.
Well, maybe at some point over the summer or maybe before the budget process starts, we basically need to inform or discuss at a council meeting what are the services that might be optional, or,
So we should look at that before we go and say it at a council meeting.
yeah.
Yes, Hal
Look-
is exactly right. This is where you would set your goals. If we're going to, we're not gonna do it the way we did it last year. We're gonna try something different, which is different from all the years and last year. So we would have to figure out, are we more interested in capping the taxes and then having all these service fees? It's been, the opinion of the council to put everything in the taxes. So that's a decision. Are there, as you said, services that are optional or in people's opinions?
I think
Or new
the
services?
residents need to be aware of the state of our finances. I think they need to know that we don't have money to pave the roads, we have to borrow it. We don't have money. If we have an emergency come up, that emergency money is gonna be taken from somewhere else. We
Well, I
don't
think-
have an emergency fund.
We're fortunate that we have all the reserves in the Pittsfield Future Funds, but we've come to a point where we have to be very careful how we go forward in the future because we can only borrow so much money.
Exactly.
Right.
And we don't want the tax rate to get too high. So this is where we figure out what's important to the town.
And I think it's important to let the citizens know what services they're getting currently for their tax dollar as well.
Absolutely, because I don't think people think about that. They
No,
don't-
no.
There's a lot of things that get taken for granted. The
Yeah.
fire department, the police department, the transfer station. I mean, basically, we don't have to leave town to do anything.
Yeah.
We are a very full-service town. Everybody's been extremely fortunate. I know the rate's a little bit higher because of all the tax-exempt property and how our commercial personal property has changed due to the state law, and mills going out of business across New England. So our rate's been, inching up there, but we're still not, at least as of last year, almost the same as we were in, 2002.
Couple of questions. One, you were going, I thought at some point you were going to bring to us what over the next, say, 10 years, what our potential borrowing capacity would be, with what loans we're retiring. So we have an idea, what, if there are capital improvements that we want to make, we might be able to suggest what year they might, if we can put them off
Mhm.
it might be more advantageous to do.
I have all the data put together. We'll need to make an Excel spreadsheet that's sensible. So far, we don't have that. It's too convoluted, too comprehensive.
Yeah, usually something
Yeah.
simple.
So
Yeah.
that's what we need. And right
Yeah.
now, we have all the data,
KISS.
all the sheets. We know how
We
much
need
is
to follow
outstanding
KISS.
for all of the
Keep it
departments.
simple.
But we need it so it's easy to figure out
Right.
where you can pop things in.
Yeah. The other question I had has to do with the school budget. And the impact that would have. A new superintendent here in town, as well as a new headmaster. Now, the MCI contract, I assume, runs through SAD 53 budget, correct?
Yes.
And, you know, given my knowledge of current status of MCI, is that there are going to be there were significantly fewer foreign students this year, and potential that there will be significantly fewer than there were this year, next year.
Well, the head of school they hired specializes in international admissions.
Well, it's kind of late in the year to
Well,
say there are going to be students, you know, now that
Right.
are
There'll
coming
be a
in.
gap, and
Yeah.
then he'll get some more than usual.
Yeah, so, is there a fallback position where, you know, if they're not meeting budget, they don't come crying to the town, you know, for more money?
Have we ever done that? Have we ever done that?
MCI has gone to SAD 53 before, but that.
To renegotiate their contract?
Yes.
Yes, when the contract was up, I was
Before.
Oh, before.
Before,
before.
yeah. Yeah, I was on the board at MCI, you know, for a while, and that happened at that time. But
Why?
why? There were enough VPs and higher echelon people that, you know, you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting one, you know, so. So I think
That's
that
an interesting thing.
we have those sayings in medicine. So I think that, you know, and that's going to be their issue, you know, but
That shouldn't affect the town
shouldn't affect
operations.
I want to make sure it doesn't affect the town, you know. You know, it's their problem.
They have to work it out.
They have to work it out.
I think we need to make that perfectly clear somewhere along the line. If they have issues, they need to work it out,
Yeah.
because we have our own issues.
Speaking, they had their budget meeting last council meeting, right? So we couldn't even go
Yeah.
to listen to what they had to say.
That was unusual.
Yeah. Well, they used to mail the budget to all the residents,
They
too.
haven't done that for years, so
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I
Hasn't-
saw one.
It hasn't been that long, maybe 5 or 6 years since they stopped doing it.
That is correct, yes. Yes, it is. I
So-
remember that.
You know, in my opinion, the district makes it harder for people to know what's in the budget, because you have to go track it down. You have to get a copy of it.
So they've been good
And
about
then-
giving us, you know, a nice pile of them, and then we can ask for more, or we copy it for people.
Or put an ad in the paper when those budgets, I mean, it's a little late now, but for the future, we should put an ad in the paper that tells people, look, school budget's coming out, school meeting, the school board meetings, and, you know, you really need to go and make sure that,
Well, there was an announcement in the paper for the public meeting,
Right.
there was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
there was.
required
Right,
to
just
do
that we couldn't
that.
go.
and that's when I noticed it was on the same day as our council
Yeah.
meeting. So,
In the same time.
yeah.
I just figure they must have run into a crunch in, you know, getting everything done, because that was highly unusual.
Usually the superintendent comes in and gives us a briefing.
Remember,
Before, too,
they've
that-
been in a time crunch to get everything done. He's actually gonna be on vacation and work every day.
Right.
To
Who?
get, Jason.
Oh.
He's gonna be working during his vacation.
Yeah.
So what else do we need to?
All right, so I put in your packet the chart which shows what would take place with the Maine Municipal Bond Bank, and using the chart from the bond bank and their values for the interest rate. And then this was put together by Portland Trust Company. I checked the figures, they're correct. So I had asked them as the administrators for our Pittsfield Future Fund, if the town did 3 borrowings. One borrowing in 2019, that would mean your first payments would be in 2020, and then the same amount of a borrowing, instead of $706,000 for 1 year, do 3 of those in 3 years, so that the 2020 borrowing for $706,000 would then first be due in 2021. The one in 2021 would be due, first payment would be due in 2022. So using the same assumptions of the same interest rate, because no one knows what they will be, and the same payment schedule, how long will the Pittsfield's Future Fund funding last with 3 bond issuances? Because we probably have less in the, more in the paving and less in the other infrastructure, but say it's $706,000 each year. With everything staying the same, in 2027, the Pittsfield Future Fund would run out of money by using the same interest rates.
So that column on the right is the Pittsfield Future Fund?
The column, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you have at the end the market value for the Pittsfield Future Fund, and so we start out and then we start subtracting out payments. So in the beginning you just have 1 payment, but then you would have 2 payments, and then 3 payments, and then 3 payments thereon if you had 3 bond issuances. So if we went in and did $706,000 for 3 years for bonds or loans, and everything stayed the same, we are able to not impact the tax dollars until we hit 2027, and then you're out of money. So you would, this was an exercise just to see how long would it last if everything stayed the same as it is now in terms of interest rates and everything. Just to give you an idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
What-
because I'd like to see us borrow less.
Not,
I'd like to see us tighten our belts, save some money, so we have money to put into capital improvements.
right, we're not saying we would ever do this, but this
No,
is just
but
to see how long would it really last.
Not nearly long enough.
Correct, yes. It was an exercise so we could see
Never last
exactly
So
where we would be.
this is based on the fact that everything else stays the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I guess that's the reason to try to understand what gets retired in the next 3 to 5 years that we might have extra funds for to
Yeah.
put towards.
Not too much.
Not too
but-
much.
Mhm. But we are fortunate that most of our bond issuances are in water and sewer. Not for water and sewer, but for all the other departments. We are fortunate there's not a lot of bond issuances. So this was an exercise just to see how this would work. And so I have all of the issuances. I know when the payments would, what the payments are, the debt service. And we are trying to make an Excel spreadsheet that makes easy sense to look at. Right now it's too much information. So the bond issuances as of 2019 are all in your debt service and the capital budget that's in your budget book, but it's all raw data. So
Right.
we're trying to combine it into an easy to read format. But yes, I have all that information.
The funds that you have in loans and grants from different banks or agencies, where is that kept and how is it tracked, Catherine?
All right, so the
Because we never see it in the budget and the financial
Yes,
reports
yes,
that we get.
Yes. The loans, in terms of the payments, are all in the departments. In terms of the 14 departments and the other miscellaneous departments without staffing, has it in debt service, which is in, I believe, your 50 account. in the trio budget.
Okay.
And so that's where the debt service payments go. The water and sewer is, at least for the water, is required to be in amortization accounts, which are called like loan debt, loan interest, which are in the water budget.
Okay.
In the sewer budget, I just put them all in one line. So you can see all the payments that are taking place.
So that would be in the monthly reports as well, or not?
Yes, when they're paid,
Right.
yes. The totals of what's budgeted is in their budget
Budget,
line.
okay.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah, the grants though, because of the way we're set up with the charter and the budget format, the administrative code and everything, the grants are run through a separate line, but they're still, as the expenditures are made and the revenues come in,
Yeah.
they're in the special 85 account, which is further down outside of the municipal budget. The accounts, which are the 86s, which are all the special revenues, and there's a few grant special revenue mixtures. Those are usually in the 86s. So the 85s and 86s, as well as some other miscellaneous items like trusts, are all outside of the first maybe 12 pages of the budget, so that we can add those all up and then subtract out the bottom ones to do the reconciliations.
So-
and keep it outside of the totals.
Okay, and are those funds kept at Androscoggin, or are those funds in different reserve accounts, like we reviewed from reserves and stuff like that?
So the funds that are coming in and the funds that are going out are in Androscoggin until we do the transfers. For example, if we spent some money out of a grant, at some point we have to go get the money. So we can do transfers from Fund 5, for example, takes care of the reserves and the payments that would be needed as matches for the grants, special revenues. Generally, the grants are the only ones that we have to do transfers on. There's a few special revenues. And then the accounts are at the different banks. When I arrived, the monies were all outside of town. So the council's first item for myself in the financial area beyond reconciliations was to bring the money back in. So we got the best rates that we could and spread the money out between all the banks, and then we got some banks in the outskirts too. So we have to go do those transfers, and no money is ever transferred unless the council does the resolution at the meeting. Like for example, you've done a couple to get money out of the reserve accounts recently and the trust account. So we make the, once we have that authorization, we send that paperwork to the bank and ask them to send us a check once we make the purchase.
For those respective banks?
Specific ones to those banks.
Thanks.
Dwight's thing was if he could get a 1/16 of a percent better interest in Texas, he'd go there, he wouldn't keep it in town. You know, sometimes keeping it in town would benefit you better. I mean, if you send your money to Texas or Oklahoma, wherever you want to send it, and then all of a sudden you need money from a local bank, then, well, you don't put your money in our bank, why should we give you a loan? So we kind of brought it back.
So it stimulated economic development, better
Right.
public
Yeah,
relations.
exactly.
People felt better. They
Yeah.
thought they, you know, they
and you really weren't
they
making
couldn't
much
touch
more.
the money, but they knew it was at a
They,
bank. They could
they knew
see.
where it was.
Yes.
Right, but
Yes.
you weren't making that much more by sending it out of state somewhere either.
I'm
so.
sure we weren't. And
But I guess in
exactly
Dwight's
right.
eyes, we were, but
Well, I mean, in the 80s, didn't everybody make money in the 80s?
Oh, yeah.
In the early 90s?
Yes.
You know,
What
so.
a difference now. We didn't
But-
realize how good we had it made.
Yeah.
So I will put together the budget calendar for you to look over prior to the council meeting. And then, this was an interesting exercise, and yes, I have the debt service folder with all the information in it. So, as you said, what we normally would do, Howard, is that once one was going to retire, we would plan to always get another loan, you know, of hopefully about the same size. But sometimes they started, you know, getting a little bit bigger there. You know, for example, if we had a fire truck was going to retire, that's when we would get the next fire truck. But what's happened is it's just too much time in between.
Sure.
So we're going to start having more loans. All right, anything else we can think of?
No, I just want someone to go over the dates again because
Right, I'm gonna do the calendar and then send it out, you
Send
all
it
can
out,
look at
okay,
it and see
good.
how it really works for you.
Yeah. that would be good.
All right,
In
so
case we
we,
have to make any adjustments.
so we do have a warrant, it just came down, I didn't wanna interrupt you all. And now, of course, we'll go to the council meeting and you can stop in if you want to and look it over. I thought that would be a lively discussion on the budget. And if you wanted to look at like last year's submittals, you can look at those, or the years before. I have them all. As you know, I like my papers, so I have them.
The reason I want that is just to see how things, actually it'd be nice if we could see what they've been asking for before it got, compiled. To see if they're making the same requests over, say, the last 5 years. So is there something that they're asking for that they're not getting that maybe this year we should consider?
Most years, Bernard will ask for the ladder truck. He's usually the one that asks for
Yeah, I know.
the trucks, yes. But usually their requests change over the years. I think that's the one that usually stayed the same for a number of years. And now he's got the approval for the used ladder truck. I haven't seen a ladder truck request.
Right. Did we pay Pierce?
Pardon?
Did we pay Pierce? My husband asked, because Pierce called Bernard and wanted to know where their money was.
Okay, what they called up for was one of the forms. There's one, I did all of the forms. There was one form I couldn't do, which is when you accept the truck, because it had issues with it. So
Right.
they wanted
Right.
that one form. And so, yes, they get their payments. It's paid,
Okay.
they got paid off. They have a arrangement with a banking facility so that when the truck's delivered here at a certain point, they get paid. So they got paid right off, and then it's through the
Okay.
lease purchase, so then we pay the financial
My
institution.
My husband usually gets things not firsthand, so that's why I was asking.
Yes, all our
Hopefully
payments
that
have
will
been
be
fine.
different in years to come.
Mhm.
Catherine, Toomey Water Service, that was the
The meter reader.
meter reader?
Yes.
Okay, and what's the status of the bills right now?
We have 2 books all entered. We're waiting for a technical question to be answered that has nothing to do with the meter reader. We have a letter ready to go, another letter ready to go with that setup. And then we're able to, once we get that one done, we'll read another one and then do the other ones. We're giving more time to people. That's our question, how much time can we give? Just due to the way the law is written, we want to make sure that we give, we're trying to give too much time, I think, and we want to, but we have to make sure we can. Yeah. And then we would have anyway, but the law requires that we offer payment plans, but we would anyway to help people. And there were 3 people of all of the areas that did come in to make payment plans ahead of time.
Well, my wife just told me to come in, and I neglected to do it this week. But, she goes, go in, I don't want a big bill, go in, I don't want a big bill.
Yeah, but anyone can pay anytime on their water sewer bill, just as they can on their taxes.
Dean comes in and pays $10 every week.
I know, isn't he so
How far
good?
behind are we?
Yeah.
Anyway, I know we're one billing cycle
Well, he'd
behind.
rather have it
over.
taken out of his check, but Emily wouldn't do it, so.
Yeah, we don't, because of how difficult those are in the system, we just have stopped adding on any
If
extra.
Trio makes things like that too difficult to do, then we need to start looking at a new system.
It actually goes through a payroll system, but in Trio, that's the second part of it. The payroll system is good. The issue has always been that there aren't many systems at all that are available for
That would
towns.
comply with the state.
Yes, that you can have the proper chart of accounts that you can do the proper procedures with. So the few proprietary systems they have their issues. Either they're really complex or very simplistic, like Trio. Yeah. All right, we're all
Okay.
set? All right. Very good. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Yes, you too.
You too, Howie.
Yeah.
Do you want this? Yeah,
No, I'll come in and sign it.
okay.
All right, so Deborah, we're working on our digitization project so that we can then have less things to move when we do the trial. And we have to do it.
So you got your list done?
I have multiple lists of the
No, the one you
boxes.
were working
Oh,
on.
that one, no, I had to.
Throw that one to the curb for a
Oh my
while.
God, that, I wish I could just sit down and work only on that, but, you have so many requests and interruptions and everything.
Well, what kinds of requests and interruptions?
I have a list upstairs. I'm trying to keep my daily log to fill in everything. Yes, it can get quite exciting at the town office. And one would not think so, but this place has always been exciting.
Yeah.
It's when my money tightens up it gets more exciting.
Yeah, 'cause we need the money to run the town.
Yes, we do.
And that's why I think it's so important that people know that what has happened over the past has put us in this position now. Somebody's gotta stand up and take responsibility. I
I
feel
know.
very strongly about that.
Yeah, different people have different, over the years have had different
And I
outlooks on
understand,
that.
I
yeah.
understand that, and I know that previous councils have held your feet to the fire and said, no tax increase. But that, over the years, has put us where we are now.
It has, this is true, but I
Because-
understand why they did it. It's just now we gotta deal with it. And we
Because
will.
if we had been increasing the tax slightly over the last 20 years, there's nothing to say that we couldn't cut it when certain things were done.
I understand.
I think that's what happened, and we just never put them back again. I know there were some reserve
That
accounts
is-
that had
That is part of
some-
it, yes.
Yeah.
a significant amount of money in it. And
But
they took the money
but
out
do you
over the years, and
agree
we
that
just,
most people in town don't really have an understanding of
oh, I totally agree.
the
Yeah.
finances
Yeah.
of the town?